Welcome back everyone, and it's time to go ballsy! So if you haven't been pushing P and you don't know what's going on in the world, Jujutsu Kaisen's movie is right around the corner and the manga has been covering Yuta Okkatsu in very fine detail regarding his role in the final arc of the manga. Everyone is hyped. Gege Akutami, the creator of Jujutsu Kaisen, has stated that the ending has already been decided and we are heading towards the final arc after the culling games. By the end of this video, I aim to explain these major topics. Number 1, Yuta's backstory and his role for the ending. As you have to remember, he is Satoru freaking Gojo's strongest student. Yes, remember, I have to say Satoru freaking Gojo. You can't just say Satoru Gojo, you have to say Satoru freaking Gojo. Alright, I need to calm down. I'm so excited that I'm covering Jujutsu Kaisen content again for you guys on the channel. So yeah, I need your support by smashing that like button, hitting the notification bell for our channel so that I know you guys want this content weekly from me. Now, the second topic we're covering is who is Rika and how did she fall in love with Yuta Okkatsu. Number 3, why does Satoru Gojo need Yuta for his dream and how does that involve killing Kenjaku, the ancient sorcerer that is using Suguru Geto's body. Recently, in chapter 174, Yuta has declared that he will kill Kenjaku himself and has made it his primary objective as he wants revenge for Satoru Gojo. Suguru Geto's body is being used by Kenjaku, as we all know, because Geto had the special curse technique called curse spirit manipulation that he required to enact his plan perfectly. He is the mastermind behind the culling games and is the ancient sorcerer who wants to resurrect Sakuna, the king of curses. Kenjaku's objectives can be summarized in these points. He wants humans to evolve by forcing them to use curse energy in a do or die situation of the culling game. All the weak humans and sorcerers will die and only the strongest people will survive in this new world he wants to create. Using the culling games, Kenjaku wants to collect curse energy so that all humans can merge with Tengen. He also wants to optimize curse energy and bring back the golden age of curse techniques. Kenjaku also seems to have another plan up his sleeve, and we saw him meet some shady ass people in China during chapter 167, and we all know this cannot be good news for Itadori and company for their objectives, as during the Megumi fight his opponent stated that it will come out anytime now and it's like a nuke. Yuta, being one of the protagonists of this series, of course objects to all of these plans because he believes in Satoru Gojo's dream. He is part of Gojo's plan to create a new generation of powerful sorcerers that can change the world in a positive way rather than the major clans and higher-ups controlling the world behind the scenes. More than that, Yuta also cares about his teacher, who saved and protected not just him but also his best friends from the Jujutsu school. He knows that Satoru freaking Gojo might not show it, but killing his best friend after the events of volume 0, it must have taken everything his sensei had. Having to see someone using Geto's body in such a cruel way and then having to kill his best friend again, it might be too much for Satoru Gojo and his mental health. So he wants to protect Gojo from a bit of the pain he has to see after getting unsealed by killing Kenjaku himself. Like, we all know what happens when Gojo is unsealed, right? Like, everyone's fucked and Yuta doesn't want to see his sensei break. Imagine if Gojo mentally broke, right? So you guys get the point. I'm just putting that in your head. So now, obviously speaking, Yuta also follows the same philosophy as Itadori and Gojo, which is the fact that ordinary humans should not be involved in sorcery, since being a sorcerer is actually a depressing reality where it involves the unnatural laws of human life to become a norm, thus creating an imbalance of purity and evil. If Kenjaku's plan for the world succeeds, merging with Tengen would mean that all boundaries between different humans will be erased. So even if one person out of all evolved humans rages out of control, it will result in the whole world being destroyed and evil cursed spirits would reign supreme. Thus, Sakuna would become the king of curses again, ruling over the entirety of mankind in a vicious cycle of violence. This is why Yuta Okkatsu has made his primary objective to kill Kenjaku, as it would essentially save the entire world. Satoru Gojo warned Kenjaku before being sealed that there is still one sorcerer out there that can stop him. That person was Yuta. Itadori and Megumi will focus on unsealing Gojo, which we covered previously in this video. If you haven't seen it, make sure to hit the notification bell for our channel so you don't miss out on these important uploads, as it is important that our entire community stays on the same page so that we can enjoy this manga a lot more. Now, in regards to Yuta, let's begin with explaining who is Rika so that you can understand the movie and the manga better. Rika Orimoto is a young girl who was childhood friends with Yuta Okkatsu, as well as being promised lovers. This is because Rika gave Yuta a ring when they were kids, promising to marry each other whilst at a park. Rika's origins are honestly, a mystery, and the information we do have about her life before meeting Yuta is very disturbing. In Rika's character profile, Gege Akutami goes into detail about Rika that led many to wonder if the young girl was, a murderer. Gege states that Rika's mother died suddenly of unknown causes when she was 5 years old. Now, as Megumi stated at the beginning of Jujutsu Kaisen, all the unexplained and or unknown deaths in Japan are due to curses. So if on official government records the cause of death is unknown, it's probably due to a Jujutsu sorcerer or a curse. Rika was only 5 years old, but we know at that time period of someone's life, curse techniques can unlock for children. Megumi is an example of this, considering he was supposed to be sold to the Zenin clan around the same age. There is speculation that Rika killed her mother after unlocking a curse technique. That's a heavy speculation, but it gets even worse when we bring up her father. Only after a couple of days at elementary school, Rika and her dad went mountain climbing and got lost. After a week of them being missing, Rika was found at a shelter near the summit of the mountain where her father was nowhere to be found. In fact, her father's body was never found, with his death unconfirmed, and apparently Rika, she never clarified what exactly happened. In the hospital after being saved and checked up on, Rika had met Yuta Okkatsu, who had been treated for pneumonia. Although we only know this information because of Rika's profile, it is still very interesting that the hospital will be where they meet, and later they ended up attending the same elementary school. But after leaving the hospital, Rika was taken in by her grandmother on her dad's side. This is where the speculation for Rika's devious actions truly shine. And this is because her own grandma believes that Rika killed her parents. It makes sense too, think about it. In her character profile, it says Rika would manipulate adults, being aware of her cute appearance. Her grandmother's intuition noticed that Rika isn't sweet and innocent. It is even described that she hates everyone except Yuta Okkatsu, especially girls and older guys. So obviously Rika isn't the typical nice little girl that she acts like when dealing with adults. The only exception to this was Yuta's younger sister, who she was very nice to whilst she was a human, but that changed when she became a vengeful spirit. Furthermore, in volume 0, which is the movie that is about to be released for Jujutsu Kaisen, we also learn from a Jujutsu higher up speaking to Satoru Gojo that if someone like Rika was left as she was, a whole town could be destroyed. But Gojo covers it up and states that Rika came from a normal non-sorcerer family, and her turning into the queen of curses couldn't be a possibility. Gojo brought up Rika's past to point out that the curse that killed her mother was unknown. He uses the excuse that it's impossible to control something that they don't understand, and that they should leave it be for a while through getting data on her via trial and error. So obviously Basically, Gojo understands the reality of what is going on, but could be going against the higher-ups so that Rika's power can be utilized for his own dream via Yuta's good-natured hands. A major key is connected to the ring that Rika gave Yuta in their agreement to get married. The ring was more than Yuta and Rika's connection, as it actually held down Rika's soul to the world after her death. Rika stole this ring from her grandmother's dresser, and apparently it was her mother's wedding ring. The story insinuates that Rika doesn't care about others' sentiments as long as her own desire is fulfilled. Her origin made it pretty clear that she is close to a yandere, which means becoming a vengeful spirit makes a lot of sense. Rika's death in front of Yuta was seen as a tragedy, but it is possible that she was just getting her due justice through karma. Rika and Yuta shared an obsession with each other. After Rika's death, Yuta cursed her and turned Rika into a cursed spirit without even realizing it. He had a deeper attachment to Rika, which meant he truly understood her. To understand this phenomena in Jujutsu Kaisen's story, we need to look into Yuta's past. So I'll be handing the video on to Harrison, as he will explain exactly what is going on in the manga right now and everything you need to know about Yuta's character.
Thank you, Adil. Yuta was born into a family of non-sorcerers and was seemingly close with his family. We know that he has a little sister who he still keeps in contact with, but it was Rika's death that was the beginning of a major slump for him, as his mental health collapsed. Whenever someone threatened to get close to bully Yuta, the cursed spirit Rika would appear to protect him. Initially, he couldn't control Rika or her actions, which caused him to distance himself from everyone. For example, in a case at his high school, Rika dealt severe injuries to 4 students that were bullying him. At first, Yuta wanted to kill himself because of Rika's violent actions to protect him, but she wouldn't let him do that either, and as a result for her involvement, the case at his high school made him appear under the Jujutsu school's radar. Yuta eventually ended up at Jujutsu High so that he could figure out how to unravel Rika's curse. This is how Yuta got introduced to the world of Jujutsu and his own abilities as a sorcerer in Volume 0, aka the Jujutsu Kaisen 0 movie. Yuta trained under Gojo, who also looked after him because of how dangerous Rika was as a special grade cursed spirit. After an intense face-off with Geto, it is revealed that it was actually Yuta who put the curse on Rika, keeping her spirit bound to him. Gojo also revealed that Yuta is a distant relative of his, being a descendant of the legendary sorcerer turned vengeful spirit Michizane Sugawara. It was also interesting how Yuta actually managed to beat the special grade sorcerer Geto with the help of Rika. Yuta's feelings for his friends as well as Rika overshadowed the fear he must have felt in that moment, and he came to a decision to protect everyone. Yuta made a vow with Rika to die with her if she gave her all in battle, which was Yuta indirectly unraveling his curse on Rika because he was no longer latching onto his desire for them to be together. Despite going through a lot of trouble with Rika, Yuta and Rika shared a bond of true love. This true love is the theme behind Yuta's story, deeply reflecting his desire for companionship as a child. Rika was someone special to Yuta, so she was susceptible to his curse technique, which ultimately binds her soul to him. The promise made between the two children was something of a binding vow, taken form when Rika gave Yuta the ring. So when Yuta finally realized that he was connected at a deeper level to Rika, he came to terms with her feelings as well. He faced his fear, knowing that he never hated Rika and that she had always just tried her best to protect him. Even if Yuta had decided to die with Rika, it turns out that letting go of his desire was all it needed to free her, and he was happy to see her finally passing on. Yuta had held her down from passing, but she had liked being with him until the very end. If it wasn't for Rika, Yuta would have never learned about his curse technique, and he might not have had to deal with the hardships that he faced. Or maybe he would have dealt with this eventually and she was just the catalyst. But wait a minute, if Rika had passed away so peacefully, who was the Rika that we saw in chapter 137? It seemed as if Yuta was finally ready to move on from his time with her and and began a new life. So what would cause him to detain Rika's soul again if the Rika we see currently is even the same one? You see, back in volume 0, Geto would refer to Rika as the Queen of Curses. This made her similar to Sakuna, the King of Curses. This is because she had overwhelming power as a special grade cursed spirit. This might not mean she is as strong as Sakuna, but her powers were so great that the Jujutsu school was extremely wary of her. The Jujutsu school had assumed that she was created purely from her own negative emotions and then latched onto Yuta, making her extremely dangerous. Although that wasn't the truth. It had led Satoru Gojo to go after Rika, thinking he could capture her and add her to his arsenal of cursed spirits. The Jujutsu high school had to rely on Gojo to keep her in check. In fact, Gojo was assigned to this case because the people previously assigned to Yuta and Rika's case had died. So back to the burning question. How did Rika even come back? Or is it even Rika in the first place? Letting go of Rika brought Yuta down to a grade 3 sorcerer from a special grade 1. So it is possible that Yuta realized how much of an asset he is with Rika and knew that he would need to get his power back to be a proper sorcerer under Gojo. We know that Yuta went overseas with Miguel, an ex-follower of Geto, and looked into the black rope cursed tool that can cancel the effects of other cursed techniques, seemingly at the request of Gojo. It is unclear if Yuta had Rika before or after going overseas with Miguel, so it could be possible that Miguel's people helped him with that. Possibly a seance of some kind could have been done to contact Rika's soul so that she could come back to Yuta's aid. Or like we said, maybe this isn't the same Rika after all. We all know how Akutami is fond of leaving small hints in the story, and we might actually have one for this new Rika's identity. In chapter 137, we know Yuta calls out Rika, but there's something to take note here. The Rika accompanying Okkotsu earlier had her name written in the kanji system as seen on screen now, but the mangaka wrote the new Rika's name in the katakana system as seen here. Even the way that he talks to her is different, as if he is teaching her instead of asking her like before. Knowing Akutami, it will be no surprise if this is actually Yuta's training to control curses and his cursed technique. We do know that Yuta became a special grade again 3 months after the end of volume 0, so he did something to get Rika back fairly quickly after losing her. Clearly she still has the same free will as before to some extent and can manifest to protect Yuta at any given moment. We notice how she did this by grabbing Itadori when she thought he was bullying Yuta without him saying anything. Plus, Yuta still has his overwhelming cursed energy and can control Rika much better now. So there is a good chance that this is just the same Rika that has returned, or that Yuta manifested another cursed spirit in her image and named her Rika just as a homage. But the conditions of her return or the existence of a new Rika must be brought up by Akutami for us to fully understand what is happening. With the lack of information on Yuta's abilities, we have to go over any and all mentions of it throughout the story. Kenjaku spoke on Yuta's ability during the Shibuya incident and stated that Yuta had to detain a loved one's soul in order to obtain an abundance of cursed energy and copy techniques. Well, he laughed it off when Gojo recalled Yuta beating Geto to a pulp, but this was the first time that Yuta's actual ability is explained with more detail, giving us more insight on what the criteria is for Yuta's power. Yuta being a special grade and having such a twisted yet powerful technique is precisely why Gojo considered him to be a person capable of surpassing him, meaning he expected Yuta to carry his legacy from the very beginning. And if you follow Jujutsu Kaisen for a long time now, you know that Gojo knows more than he actually reveals. With Gojo out of the picture and Yuta having his title as a special grade, he wants to follow in his footsteps and protect everyone again. Not only does he care about his friends and juniors, but he also puts his life on the line for ordinary people as well, as we saw in chapter 174. Currently, Yuta may be the strongest asset on the good guys team and the best bet against Kenjaku. I mean, we all saw that his battle instinct is pretty dope and he is fighting much more confidently now. Akutami also revealed that Yuta learned swordsmanship from Maki, and we know how great she is when it comes to wielding weapons. I mean, we don't need to remind you of our video covering her entire life story against her clan, and so again remember to hit that notification bell for the channel so that you don't miss out on all of these crucial Jujutsu Kaisen uploads. However, Yuta also understands Jujutsu pretty well and correctly guesses the cursed techniques and attacks of his enemies just like Megumi. Just look at chapters 174 through to 176 onwards to truly understand the regards of his talents. Like we saw, Yuta also has the firm resolve to not let Gojo kill Geto's body a second time, claiming that he will be the one to kill Kenjaku as well as receive the 400 points necessary in the culling games. Yuta now wants to take on the burdens of Gojo Satoru himself, just like Gojo wanted. This goes beyond just the culling games and Kenjaku, but Yuta cares for his fellow students, to the point that he feels genuine sadness being away from everyone. But he realizes how powerful he is, so he must distance himself from them to handle his part. It is oddly similar to how Geto and Gojo drifted away in the hidden inventory arc, because Gojo alone became the strongest sorcerer, isolating Geto. Hopefully Yuta doesn't feel any sense of isolation from everyone because he already has a lot on his shoulders as it is, as Yuta is now on the front lines protecting the other students per Gojo's request, even risking his life by fooling the higher-ups into believing that he would kill Yuji Itadori, all just to gain intel on where Yuji actually was, which is arguably one of the most Gojo things you can do. I mean, we all know how much he hates those higher-ups. But with that, you now understand everything about Yuta and Rika. However, if you want a recap of the Jujutsu Kaisen movie from start to finish, then watch this video which is being displayed to you right now. Trust me, you won't regret it. It is a banger.